what's going on, y'all? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And you're about to watch a little OTB LSU.
We're going to give you all the latest, greatest between LSU football, baseball, women's basketball, softball, and everything in between.
Bottom line, if you want to talk Tigers, keep it locked, subscribe, like it.
Jake, so I don't know why when I get in this morning, I'm thinking about the game, and I started thinking about
Tonight you woke up thinking about Beanville?
It's been for 2 or 3 weeks now.
Yes.
Basically. But I started remembering back to John Ed Bradley's book, It Never Rains in Tiger Stadium.
Yep.
And that 1979 USC game that is so famous in LSU lore. And it kind of got me thinking, okay, well, what's the all-time series with LSU and USC? Guess what, guys? This Sunday in Las Vegas, it's a rubber match. A rubber match nearly 40 years, over 40 years in the making, right? LSU losers 17-12 in 1979 in Death Valley. LSU winners 5 years later in 1984, 23-3 in Los Angeles. So whoever wins on Sunday will have all-time series bragging rights, as well as settle any debate over who the true 2003 national champions were. But I want to talk a bit.
How about that? Only 2 matchups.
Only 2 matchups, that's what I'm saying.
For some reason, I thought it was more.
A 50-year rubber match. But so that sent me down a hole of looking up this 1979 game, and there are some there's some excellent stories surrounding this game. First off, let's talk about who USC was in 79. They were fresh off their 5th national championship in the last 15 years. So basically, a dynasty.
They were Georgia, Alabama,
yes.
Championship level run.
One every 3 years.
Yeah.
They had just gone 12-1 in 78. And in a kind of funny twist of fate, they were actually co-national champions with Alabama. One was AP, one was coaches. Both were 12-1, but USC actually beat Alabama convincingly head-to-head in Birmingham. And to show you that
surprising.
Now that we're in the playoffs and it's a much better time, you can't just claim fake national championships. Alabama's still got a share for whatever reason. But USC, coming off a national championship, they're ranked number 1 in the country. How about this? They got Charles White as their running back. He was going to win the Heisman that season. They got Marcus Allen as their fullback.
Yeah.
And who's at tackle? NFL Hall of Famer Anthony Munoz. I mean, dogs. 12 first-round picks on the roster. And they choose to come to Death Valley at night in 1979. How about this? Not even televised. The game was not. It was on tape delay because of some weird broadcast rules where USC was going to be playing too many games on ABC or something. But there was no live televised broadcast of this legendary game, this number 1 team traveling to Baton Rouge at night, meaning the 78,000 psychos in the crowd were privy. I mean, what a weird thing to think about.
Yeah.
They were privy to something that nobody else could watch. You had to be there or you could not get eyes on the game until later when they would show it on tape delay on a new startup.
Imagine the legends that were spreading of the game.
Oh, immediately. And I read a lot of this in an old Tiger Rag article, but I do love that when it was eventually showed on tape delay, it was showed on a brand new channel. Some sports network, ESPN, something, who knows if it's going to work or not.
Yeah.
24/7 sports, very odd. So USC on Friday shows up for the game. LSU's having an insane pep rally. I think it was maybe outside the gates of Tiger Stadium. Maybe it was on the parade grounds. But either way, the USC buses show up for Friday to go to Death Valley and try to practice. What do the fans do? They surround the bus and won't let them off. It's true mob mentality. Will not let the Trojans off. The cops have to show up. They eventually clear away. The fans line up on either side, making a walkway for the players, yelling Tiger bait at them, trying to scare them as much as they can. How about this? At this time, students were still living in the dorms at Tiger Stadium. So from about Wednesday on, nobody went to class, nobody worked, nobody did anything except for party and play music. You could hear loud rock music spilling out of all the different dorm room windows. And then finally on game night, this is probably my favorite thing to think about. It's 1979, you know. So you got TV, you got magazines, National Geographic and whatnot. But I cannot fathom, and maybe they've had to at the zoo, but I'm sure that many of these USC players had never seen a live tiger before. Even in digital or print, it had to be a relatively rare occurrence. And yet, when they step outside their locker, there is Mike, a giant, angry Bengal tiger who's being poked and prodded into giving tiger roars. Jake, can you imagine 79? It's 7 p.m. It's humid as hell. You're from California. You were assaulted by the mob the day before. You step out, the lights are on. It's 78,000. You can't even hear yourself think. And then there's this massive, exotic big cat who is literally yelling in your face, looking like he wants to eat you.
No, I remember just talking to players that played here whenever Mike would, go around the field. He'd be outside the locker room, and they talked about just how intimidating it was and something that you'll never see anywhere else. And at that time, you still didn't see it anywhere else. And so, no, certainly. And that was with the access to see it on TV and to kind of know about it and not only read about it, but see it. Like back in 1979, you couldn't go up to YouTube and type in Mike the Tiger and see what it looked like. Now, nothing prepares you for an actual live Bengal tiger in a small cage when you walk out, but still, like in 1979, they had never even seen it. They had no idea.
So here it is. USC's walking out, freaking big cat yelling at him. Bunch of psycho drunk Louisianians all throughout the stands. Coach John Robinson, who would later play a role in the 2019 LSU National
Lives
Championship.
here in Baton Rouge still.
Coach John Robinson, head coach of USC at the time, said it was the loudest stadium he's ever been in. So loud, his assistant next to him couldn't even hear what he was saying. And it looked like they were going to have something to celebrate. As Steve Ensminger gets the night started with a touchdown pass. Old Slinger taking a 6-0 lead. Early in the third quarter, a field goal would push the lead to 12-3. However, in that fourth quarter, number one ranked USC, you know how these, the favorites tend to do in these games when an upset bid is in play. It's not about how you start, it's about can you finish. And LSU was right on the edge. So USC scores, LSU gets the ball back. They give the ball back to USC, Jake. And on third and long, it looks like there's a sack that would basically end the game, right? It would have been 4th and a mile. However, a hand grazes the face mask. And this is at a time before the incidental face mask penalty was in existence. You only had the 15-yard variety. Next thing you know, 15-yarder, first down, extends the drive, and USC scores a touchdown to take a 17-12 lead with 32 seconds to go. And LSU falls to the number one team in the entire country. It's a weird year. They were going to finish 7-5, but they would have a 3-0 loss to number one Alabama. It was like a bunch of super close games. They just couldn't quite find a way. And who knows what would have happened had they found a way on that humid night in September of 79. But either way, Munoz, Allen, those guys remembered their trip to Baton Rouge for all time. And it was one of the greatest games, if that could be said about a game that ends in a loss, one of the greatest games in LSU football and Death Valley's history.
It's a great game whenever you, had a loss and you still talk about it almost 50 years later. Any old head that you talk to, older head, I shouldn't say old head, older head, that you talk to brings that game up. Like any time that you want to have the conversation, what's the greatest game in Tiger Stadium history? Is it 97 Florida, 03 Georgia, 07 Florida? They're like, hold up, young buck. Don't forget about the 79 USC game. And you're like, man, that's a loss. It's like, doesn't matter. Like, sure, you lost the game, but we're talking environments here. And that game was electric. Like everyone who talks about that game wants to make sure whenever that conversation's brought up and think about that, like in a loss, you still want to make sure that one gets its just due.
One of my favorite parts of the story that I was reading on Tiger Rag was Coach Insminger talking about how they couldn't even hear on offense.
Yeah.
Because the crowd was so unruly and so insane that they just kept cheering. There wasn't any like tag for, oh, be quiet, the offense is on the field. It was just a constant thrum of noise. And so I wanted to find the box score, right? To like kind of think about, man, what was it like back in the day looking at these stats? And shout out LSUsports.net because I couldn't find it anywhere online, but they have it. And it's great because it is a scanned in, handwritten box score from now over 40 years ago. If you look at the doc, you can see a screenshot of the final team statistics. But
good.
it's pretty crazy, man. USC ran the ball 46 times for 264. LSU ran the ball 42 times for 208. USC finished 14 of 20 through the air, freaking air raid. LSU, that was for 250. LSU, excuse me, that was for 145. 14 to 20, 145. LSU finished 6 of 23 for 103. I think Slinger was like 6 of 13 or like 5 of 13 or something, and was Woodley, I believe, the other quarterback at the time. I think he went 1 of 10. So efficiency.
Just keep Slinger in the game. He was hot.
I know, dude. I know. Efficiency, has changed a bit over time. USC fumbled the ball 5 times. They lost 2 of them. A clean game. Only 8 penalties for USC, 5 for LSU. 1 pick for each team. 7 punts. It's just, it's wonderful to go back and look at this old handwritten box score and how they used to do it. So as we look forward to the future and the glitz and the glamour of Las Vegas and massive television contracts and players making millions of dollars, think back to that human night in 1979 when USC came into this town and at 30 seconds to go ruined what would have been an even more legendary night and let us exact revenge for the ghosts of the past. Okay, guys? Let's kick USC's ass. Break the tie break. Win the rubber match. Take the 2-1 lead and put to rest any questions on who was the real 2003 national champion.
Wow, Jake, what incredible takes.
I mean, those guys, they're just the best.
I think so. And if you think so, again, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications when we post every single day here on OTB LSU.